Ladies and gentlemen, we are here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all music and all wrestling matters, Sportswire Radio. Now, you might be wondering, who is our guest? Well, I'm going to tell you who our guest is. I'm going to tell you why she could probably do better intros than me. I'm going to tell you why she's got some songs that maybe we've spoke about with a guy that, well, has been on here and sung with that artist. Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll also talk about her journey. We'll talk about her musical background. We'll talk about maybe her schooling. We'll maybe even talk about her own foray into podcasting. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to introduce her. You're going to definitely remember her, especially with those pipes that she's got. Kira Augustine, my friend, thank you so much for being here on Sportswire Radio. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you here over the next 30 or 45 minutes or so.
For sure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So, normally I would go and do a long intro, and I don't really do them because you're sort of in the music world. You're not in the wrestling world. So
yeah.
I open it up in a different way, although obviously your other half we know very well. But I guess then I will open it up in a way, especially for those that may be seeing you here for the first time. And who is Kira Augustine?
Yeah, so I am first and foremost like a singer. I've always been a singer. That has always been my dream, is to be a singer. I am also a music educator and a future music therapist and a future counselor as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about who I am.
So I got to ask you. So you teach music, and what what made you want to get into that?
So I was just always I've always just been very focused with music in general. Like I played violin, I played clarinet. Like music has just like always been a part of my life in general. So I mean, like I always sang, but like I was part of like orchestra and band. So like I couldn't also take choir until later on, which was like super unfortunate.
I took that in high school. I'll make you laugh. I was in vocal ensemble in my junior year in high school. And then my senior year, I did guitar, but then they put me in strings, and I never was able to get the whole grasp with the hands being bent with the violin. It took me like 3 months in class to kind of figure out how to hold the violin, but I was never able to quite play the violin. So it's kind of made me think about my my days in Fort Hamilton High School in Brooklyn when my teacher, Mr. Azara, was trying to get me to learn the violin, and I just couldn't do it.
No, that's totally fair. I'm double jointed, so like it was hard for me as well because like I can bend like just the tip. So like
yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely difficult for me too. I mean, instead of like practicing those instruments, I always just went to singing. So I was always really good with practicing that. And there's
and you got the dogs want to hear you sing too. The dogs are so excited. I'll make you feel good because Monday I interviewed Julia Loggy, who her husband's Richie Kotzen, who's actually from not too far from you are in Pennsylvania. He played in this little band Poison, and he was just on tour with Adrian Smith of Iron Maiden, and her dog was in the background. So you can get a pass. It's okay. If Julia Loggy, who's right now about to play with Vixen on the road, can have a dog in the background, you can have a dog in the background too.
Okay,
so
sweet.
Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. But yeah, so I started getting into like education for music specifically. Once I started taking vocal lessons back when I was like 14.
I figured high school. I figured that was
Yeah.
the time when you thought about, okay, maybe I want to do it. This is kind of that period in between adolescence. If I want to do it, that's kind of how it was, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I like my dad always tried to get me to go to voice lessons, like, whenever I was younger, but I was like, I don't need that. Like, I'm good enough. But like just like little kid me didn't understand, like me, like I thought like lessons meant that I was just like not good enough. But he made me do competitions all the time for singing whenever I was like, I don't know, like 12 or something. I don't know if you know like the Keen Quest Theater
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
down in
sure.
Gibsonia. Yeah. So he would always make me do that. And he was like, you have to start doing like voice lessons if you want to like win this stuff. So I was like, okay. So I did start taking vocal lessons with, her name is Jacqueline Ware. She's pretty famous in the music like private lesson community.
Sure.
So yeah, she started teaching me, and then just like the encouragement that she gave me really just like heightened my passion for singing and like my interest in the techniques of the voice and like how the voice functions and works. And I was just like super grateful for like everything she did for me. And I was like, you know what? I want to go to college for music. And because like she was a teacher for me, I was like, I want to be that person for somebody else. So she helped me get through like auditions for undergrad for music education in at Duquesne University.
I know Duquesne. Yeah, I definitely know
Yeah.
Duquesne. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got my Bachelor of Science in Music Education, and
Very
then
impressive university, by the way. Very
yeah,
impressive. The Duquesne Dukes. They were the Duquesne Dukes. I know
yeah,
Duquesne University very well. Yep.
it was definitely a tough program. I taught for 3 years at. I ended up doing just like general music because I never thought I would want to work with kiddos, but then I just like it was a passion of mine. It was just like so fun. So I ended up moving to Kansas and working
Oh, wow.
as a general music teacher for grades preschool through 5th grade.
Wow.
And I just like so much stuff started happening like back home in Pennsylvania. And I was like, I just have to be closer to my family. So I moved back and I was like, I'm kind of done with like public school teaching because there is just like a lot of stuff in the background that people don't realize is
I'm
like
from New York City. I mean, I went to public school all my life, and I have friends who are public school teachers, so I can only imagine.
yeah,
I can only
there's a lot messed up with it. So I was just I was kind of over that. So
I'm
I
a
did
product of it, so that would be, the biggest example. I'm a product of the New York City public school system. No, I'm only kidding.
yeah, it was just like not the I mean, it was an experience and I don't regret it, but it was definitely hard. It was definitely very hard. So I was like, you know what, like my philosophy with music doesn't really align with music education. I want to go for music therapy. So I decided I want to go get my master's in music therapy. So that's what I'm doing at Duquesne again as well, since I really miss that school and they have a good reputation for their music department. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm a year in so far.
Wow.
And yeah, but like always first and foremost, like I am a singer. That is what like I have always wanted to do is sing. So like I'm trying to put a lot of focus into performance as well as doing my education, and also like private voice lessons and stuff like that. So yeah.
No, it's interesting. No, it's a very interesting stuff, and I guess then, I mean, what were some of your musical influences? I have to ask the general question.
Yeah. So I have always just been very interested in the like alternative music. I grew up with a brother that is like 8 years older than me, and he was like right at that age of like I think that's like the second wave emo, I want to say.
Okay.
I did a research project on like
Oh,
the waves of emo.
wow. Okay, that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
So this was like when MySpace was a thing.
I
and-
remember MySpace. Yes, I do. I'll make you laugh. When MySpace was around, I had I think an upside down photo, and it was upside down, then it went sideways. I do remember MySpace. Yes.
Yeah, and like the scene community and stuff like that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he was was kind of like a part of that. So I was very like involved in that kind of community, just like growing up in general.
Sure.
So my like major influences, like first of all, like Paramore,
Yep.
100%.
You have the
Love
right.
Hayley
You're also a
Williams.
redhead. I see.
Yeah,
Always wanted
yeah,
to see.
yeah, and also Evanescence.
While Evanescence, I should probably mention that speaking of Evanescence, I have actually a tie to Evanescence. As a matter of fact, I actually had just spoken to him, and obviously we all know that Evanescence has this song called, "Bring Me to Life," and the guy that did the vocals and the rap on there, which is Paul McCoy of the band 12 Stones. I've actually interviewed, and I actually had just spoken to him on Instagram because I had just shared his post, and he said, "I'll see you in Brooklyn." So because his band is playing there, so I do have a little tie there to that band Evanescence that seems like you've heard of.
Oh yeah, for sure. I found like this childhood like book thing whenever I was 3 that you wrote in it like what is your like favorite band or whatever, and I had Evanescence on there.
They were the band. Listen, I'll make you laugh. I think I said this when Paul McCoy came on here. I think it was every goth chick or every chick that I knew between, I guess, right around, I guess, high school into college was like either dressed goth or liked Evanescence. So that was almost a requisite that you liked Evanescence. So I do certainly remember that from about 2003 to about 2005, maybe. So yes, I am definitely well aware of that. You probably, like many, liked Evanescence.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then just like a part of like lyrical composition, I have a lot of influence from Mayday Parade
Okay.
because they helped me through some tough times. So yeah, definitely my favorite band.
Well, I have a YouTube link up where you can actually watch you perform some different content, and we can see All I Want for Christmas Is You, and I also see some other stuff that you've done. You have a YouTube channel, and I want people to go hit the sub button. I gave you 3 subs, and I want everybody else that when they eventually watch it to go out there and give you another sub to get you to 100. You can see some of that content. Her name is Kira Augustine. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and I want to give a shout out to the individual that connected me to you. I think you may know him as his real name, but I'm going to know him as his wrestling name, Mr. Pav Novak. So I appreciate the opportunity. We always look forward to connecting with new people. You can see Kira likes music, and she has some stuff out there. And I understand that you even covered My Immortal from Evanescence. I had actually listened to that. So what a small world. You covered it, and I interviewed Paul McCoy. We just went back up on stage last year with Amy Lee to perform Bring Me to Life. So there you go. And I see also Hotel California. That's the Eagles. I mean, that's another impressive song.
Yeah, I did that for my music therapy audition because we have to have like a certain amount of songs to audition to. But I have definitely been told that like my vocal twin is Amy Lee.
I did notice that a little bit. And I it's funny. People have asked me now, so when is Amy Lee coming onto my platform? I said, we're working on it. Listen, we're working on it. I mean, I can only try to get everybody on in a day. But yes, you definitely do have the pipes. And, Amy Lee also, like you, does the piano and does some of the other stuff outside of what you see in the big rock setting. So I could definitely see some of that similarity.
Yeah, anytime I'm doing karaoke, Bring Me to Life is my go-to. And people are like, I thought that was the radio.
Well, no, but that's, what? Listen, it's very hard to be able to perform these songs. My mom is actually a singer, and she sings in these cover bands, although she did originals for a long period of time, but she does these cover songs now of a lot of these bands. And it's actually very difficult to, cover these songs from these artists, because you have to go out there and perform the note. You have to be able to get their technique down. You have to be able to. It's a real process. People just think, "Oh, I sing when I'm drunk with my friends, and it just sounds like I sing in the shower." It don't work that way. Let me tell you from experience, it don't work that way. So what you're doing, even though it might have been somebody else that wrote and performed the song, to be able to perform it that way, there's still a process.
Oh yeah, and plus like Amy Lee is a vocal beast. So
Absolutely. No. Listen, she was
yeah.
definitely, I'll make you laugh. I mean, the other band you probably should have mentioned. You mentioned Paramore,
Yes.
and Evanescence was the other one, which was also every chick it seemed to me liked, but came out just a little bit before them was Avril Lavigne, who did not
Oh
really
my
have the
god,
vocal.
no. Oh my
Yeah,
god, no.
yeah,
I had I had a ton of her albums.
yep.
And my mom didn't want me to listen to Avril Lavigne because she was like a rebellious or
She was
whatever.
rebel because she was theater boy. That was the whole thing in the mall, and she was kind of she was definitely a little bit more risque for those that were a little younger. But that was her base. Her base was all. I always looked at Evanescence was more of like the goth crowd, whereas Avril Lavigne to me, forgive me if I say this, but was more of like the poser skater crowd. They kind of that's what because I remember when the first video came out in early 2002. So I was in school. So I remember like all of a sudden all the girls were now wearing was the Vans, and then it was where the pants were up on top. They weren't down to the bottom, and they had it was the certain look, and that's what Avril Lavigne had. She was playing the guitar, but it didn't to me. It came across like she was, but obviously, look, she's had an amazing career. What does my opinion matter? But, for the people that when I went to school with, it seemed like that was like the skater crowd, but more of like, to me, the poser crowd. Because she was punk, but she wasn't punk in the way of like the Dead Kennedys, the Sex Pistols, the Ramones. But she definitely, again, captured a generation. So, I mean, who's to say, what do I know?
Yeah, she was kind of like a part of like the scene-ish
Yes,
community. I
definitely
mean,
part
but
of
also
the definitely.
yeah. I know like scene is also like a lot of like electronic, but like scene people were considered like posers as well once they like entered the emo
Well, she was
community. So.
marketed. Listen, and you know what? Marketing has a way of doing things. And listen, she was marketed a certain way. She had a look. She was young. Just enough able to cross over, but still be teeny pop. You remember TRL? MTV TRL when they showed the videos during like when you went home from
Oh
school.
yeah, yes, yeah,
And
yeah.
she was perfect for that. She was perfect for the next wave of the MTV TRL crowd. So what she was able to do is she was able to get enough of like the rock up and comers. She was able to get those skaters, and then she was able to get the teeny boppers that would go out and watch TRL. So she really was a part of marketing. So I mean, that's how they figure things out. Whereas Evanescence and Paramore, some of those bands have a little bit more of a rockish ability, and I think they were able to have a different element of fans. But she was able. Listen, the marketing team behind that was just through the roof.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
But obviously, that's why you obviously captured that. And I have put your YouTube link up. Some of those videos were many, many moons ago. So I would certainly tell people just to keep we're not talking to Kira then. We're talking to Kira now. But, I got to ask you, what are your goals in music?
My goal is still like to perform. I'm like currently writing music. I'm also like currently trying to form a band.
Okay.
And also just like again like finding ways to get like my voice out there. That is always like my number one goal. I haven't really posted much like on YouTube for right now because I'm trying to find people that are like experienced enough in music technology that would be able to help me record. So but like my voice is definitely very much improved from like my last like professional recording, which was when I was 17, which was the My Immortal one.
That's a while ago. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, I would think
Yeah.
considering your musical education, your background, what you've learned from that experience, I would hope that you would have improved. Maybe you wouldn't have. I don't know, but I would have just took a guess and said, "Yeah, Kira, you've improved since all those years ago."
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I'm classically trained, I'm contemporarily trained, and I am also trained in jazz. So I have all of that information now, in my vocal toolbox.
No,
So
that's very good. Listen, that stuff from that era, because I took music in college. I wound up taking music, and I remember we learned in theory, jazz music, classical, all that stuff from back in the 20s and 30s to learn that stuff. That's how actually your technique develops. I remember,
yeah,
I learned to sing the song Scarborough Fair, and my music professor had learned to figure out what my voice was, and I was a deeper voice, so it was Scarborough Fair, and I actually remember the technique. So learning that is going to definitely help you in what you hopefully will intend to do, which is to have your own band.
yeah, for sure. That's like an active goal of mine right now. It's like in the process. It just takes time, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna be performing and just getting my voice out there as much as possible.
Would you like to have a band that's performing originals, or would you like to be performing other artists' songs?
Originals for sure. I mean, like some covers are totally fine. But also
Every
like
band, every band has covers. I mean, there's every
yeah,
band.
yeah,
I talk to bands even that come on here that go out there and perform, and they still, perform a cover song or two. So every artist does that in some way or another.
yeah. Plus, there's like the copyright issues for like uploading stuff.
Sure.
So like getting the rights to that is just like a pain. But I feel like I've been starting to learn how to write music better because in
Mhm.
music therapy they teach you how to compose and they teach
Oh,
you how to compose well and quickly. So I'm writing a song right now with my husband Chris, which he also does wrestling. He's Chris Killian.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm aware who he is. I was going to ask you, maybe you'll even come out and perform some of his music. Maybe you'll even, I don't know, do the national anthem. I mean, that,
oh yeah,
and
for sure.
that would be interesting. I mean, would you want to do that? I mean, I would think,
Oh
right,
yeah.
with the fan base, right, that people go out and watch the shows. That's something maybe without spoiling anything. Is that something maybe you'd like to do? National anthem to open up a show, or go out there, maybe perform his entrance music or some way, or what's your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
No, absolutely. I like any like vocal opportunity. I like jump at because like singing is so like it's so like natural for me. Like
Hmm.
it whenever I'm sick and I physically just cannot listen to music because
Hmm.
it hurts. Like I'm not even like singing it because I know like hey, I have to have like vocal rest, but like it hurts to not sing. Even if it's a song I don't know, I'm like picking up the melody quickly and I'm like humming it. Like I have to sing. It's just like it just feels like an instinct. I have to. Like I love it so much. So it's very important to me. So yeah, like any musical opportunity that involves singing, I am like absolutely jumping at the bit to go do.
But you know what? Music and wrestling go hand in hand. I had mentioned Paul McCoy at 12 Stones, and they had actually performed the Nexus, when the Nexus was on back in the day. That was We Are One. That was Paul McCoy at 12 Stones. And I've had on Josie Scott of Saliva, who had performed Chris Jericho's theme song for Survivor Series 2002. I mean, there's a long list of people that I've had on here that have crossed over. Non-Point was actually their songs were in SmackDown versus Raw 2007 and 2000. I even had a punk rock singer from the band The Darts, and she actually had in some form or another. I even forgot about this, but she had one of her songs in a WWE game. So then wrestling and music, I mean, they really do go hand in hand. I mean, I know there's a few I'm even missing that of artists that I've had on the platform that have crossed over into me. Actually, I have to shout the band Eternum that just came up your way. And one of the guys, Chris Combs, was just at like a wrestling mall or something, just big wrestling collectible store. So, and their band is big into wrestling. So, I mean, there's just, to me, it just, without music, wrestlers can't go out and get hyped.
No, yeah, music is involved in like since joining like music therapy, I've just realized like music is everywhere. It is just literally everywhere, and it's such a good tool
You can't with
for
life. I mean, how do you go out without noise, without music, right?
yeah, no,
How would the
seriously.
world be? I mean, I think my dad said that once years ago, before he passed away. He said, how do people function without music, without noise? I mean, that's really what it is. You got to have something. So, I mean, where would we be?
No, yeah, no, absolutely. And like I'm pretty sure there have been studies done regarding like silence and how it can like make your brain um go into like psychosis.
Wow, wow. You know, I should probably not try that. I don't want. I hope I don't get into psychosis. That would be a bad
No,
idea.
yeah, for sure not.
What does Chris think about maybe, you performing, out there in the wrestling world, the music of some sort? So have you talked to him about that, or does he have a thought?
Yeah, we've talked about it quite a few times. Because we've like been moving around a lot and just like our schedule is kind of like all over the place because right now we're like getting a house and like I
Wow,
went to college
congratulations.
and we moved. Yeah. So his his schedule for wrestling is like limited as well, like at the time being. So like me performing there just like never came up to like him asking whoever is in charge of that. So also I don't drive.
Well,
So
I don't. You know what? I don't drive but I'm in New York City. You're in Pennsylvania,
yeah,
so maybe it's a lot
yeah,
more difficult for you. But I
no,
don't
yeah.
drive.
So Chris has to drive me, and whenever he goes to like the wrestling shows, he's there for like a long time, and
Yeah, it's a long day. It's a long
yeah,
day.
exactly. So, but like his brother is planning on like taking me to the shows now so that
Oh
like
wow.
I don't have to be there for like setup and set down. I'm like I can't help much anyway. Like I'm like 4'8", so there
I wasn't gonna say anything, but
I'm
yeah,
not very useful in terms of like helping picking stuff up.
gotcha.
So but he's planning on like taking me. So yeah, like I will definitely, that is absolutely something that I'm interested in. And like Chris and I have talked about it like several times. You'd be like, that would be really cool. And I'm like, absolutely, I would love to do that. So yeah.
No, listen, I think that people would, obviously, again, there's a lot of crossover. We're here for a little while longer with Mrs. Kira Augustine, and she's a music therapist. She's a teacher. She'd like to perform. Maybe you have a band. Maybe you want to put her on a track, and maybe you'll see her perform something in wrestling. And we'll give her something here in a few minutes. My name here is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and go out and hit the sub button for her YouTube channel. Also, like, share, and subscribe to us. And we want to thank everybody for being here and getting a chance to know Kira and her story. And again, we want to thank everybody for following her and check her information out. I always ask this question to people, and I always am curious for someone like yourself who is a teacher and a therapist, but if you had any advice for anybody, what would it be?
Just anybody in general or like people?
Yeah, for music, yeah.
For music?
Yeah.
I always say like this is such a teacher thing to say, but literally if you're serious about music or just like playing an instrument, if it's something you enjoy, like literally practice it. Practice it, because it takes 10 years to master something.
Yeah.
And once you've already mastered it, everything just comes so much easier. And when you start playing like a different instrument or like incorporating music into like other modes and mediums, like it just makes so much more sense and you're able to transfer those skills so much easier. Definitely get yourself involved in different instruments and like learn the basics. It's super important. Music theory is super important. I say like research and practice as much as possible. So
yeah, that's a good, practice. I always tell the story on it because I've been doing this for 7 years, and I always never forget. My dad had said, he bought me a basketball. This was years ago when I was a kid, when I was trying to play basketball, and it was a double basketball, and I still have it ingrained. And he would call me from work and always say, are you practicing? You dribbling the ball, dribbling. And it wasn't a matter of that I was going to go to the NBA. It was a matter that I was going to stay and follow through with it. So he was always talking about practice. And my uncle when I did my first job was like repetition, repetition, repetition. So in a way, you're right about the practice part, because you got it. Because again, you got to get you over a lot of things, and in doing this line of work, I think they said 100 hours. It's 100 hours of interviewing or radio, and then after that, you should be better and better. But I still haven't figured that out, because I still am not that good. So I'm goofing with you. But I do want to share my stream. I want to give you something, because you've been very kind in coming on, and obviously we want to shout out Mr. Novak, and also want to shout out your husband, who we know very well from the wrestling world, and we appreciate all he does for our great sport. But let me put this up here, because for those that are listening and watching here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, it's your day today. So we'll give you the physical copy when we're off the air. But congratulations. You got a day. I'm sure you have many more days, but it is your day. And we want to thank you very much for coming on. And we hope that your musical journey takes you to where you want to be. And thinking about the studio. And I talk with a lot of artists, and some of them now actually, they just record on their phone now. I had on the band LA Guns last year, which I was in the website blabbermouth.now, which is like heavy metal's version of Rolling Stone. I've been in there a gazillion times, and they recorded their last album on their phone. So you really don't have to be in a studio as much anymore. I would like to point out that you don't have to be in a studio like when you recorded My Immortal. I mean, you can just, have you worked with Pro Tools or anything like that?
No.
Well, that's one thing you might want to, invest in. It was years ago. In fact, I had on a music director last week. Jim Foster was talking about, he was like one of the first people to really adapt into Pro Tools, and Pro Tools has been used by all the big artists. But now I think you can buy the system for like a few $100. But like 20 years ago, 20, 25 years ago, you're talking about, I mean, it's so much, in some ways, before we sign up, it's so easy. It's so much easier to actually record music professionally. Years ago, you had to go to a studio and spend a fortune, whereas now, you can do certain things even from home.
Yeah. I used to have an interface, and I messed around with Studio One a little bit, but I think like that program is like no longer a thing anymore, to my knowledge. Don't quote me on that, but it was hard for me. So
yeah, a lot of that stuff, I think that was for me one of the reasons. And like in my so my background, before I let you go, is interesting, because my mom sings. My dad, when he was alive, played the drum, was also a drum teacher, and he taught the private lessons for a while, on and off throughout my upbringing. My brother plays the drums. I dabbled kind of in instruments, but I never really made the transition. So I know it's difficult to be able to go out and perform, and it's difficult to be able to go out and do the things that you want to do, because I've seen it firsthand. My cousin wound up being a roadie for Bret Michaels for a period of time. He just locked himself in the room all day and played guitar. But unfortunately, he had some things he went into, and it didn't. But so I understand it's very difficult, and you want to do these things, and I think you're going to do them. I definitely you're going to get there. You're going to get to where you want to be, and and thank you for being a music therapist. You're going to help a lot more people than you realize by doing that. So I think that's a passion of yours, and I saw once upon a time you dabbled into podcasting.
Oh yeah, I did. It was called Anxiety, and it had like a teacup like logo that Chris made.
I saw that. Yeah, you were talking about this off the air. You were definitely a COVID baby with the podcast, because everybody did a podcast during COVID, because again, a lot of people couldn't go outside, you couldn't do anything, so you figured, well, what's the way to kill time? What's to do a podcast? So you actually did your own podcast, and you did it for a little while, and everybody had started a podcast during COVID. I was actually one of the people that started it. Well, yeah, I would say pretty much about a year plus before COVID, but it was so fascinating to see people start a podcast, and some people made something out of it. Others, life in the world gets in. So, look, it's an experience, and now you're back on one. Who knew all these years later you'd be on a podcast, right? Who knew? I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything else that you want to plug, share, or say before we sign off? Anything else that you'd like to talk about that maybe we haven't got a chance to cover about who's Kira Augustine, or anything else?
I feel like we covered everything. Like, I just want to say, like, I'm a very, like, determined musician, so I am very confident in the fact that, like, I will be performing.
No,
So,
you should be. I think as a
yeah.
musician, you have a great voice. And I think you should get out there. Listen, whether it's, going out to the local bar and performing with a band, or whether it's writing a song and putting it out there on social media. I was listening to you talk about MySpace, but MySpace was used for a lot of musicians. And today it's so easy in some ways to do things because you have a YouTube channel where you can post a short. There's TikTok, there's Instagram where you can post a reel, there's, Facebook. So I know a lot of people would say, oh, well, I need to do this, I need to do that. But really, you can get your message out there. You can get it out there in ways that 20 years ago you couldn't do. And you have that opportunity. So if you have it, listen, there's an old expression in life: if there's a will, there's a way. And if you want to do it, you can do it. And I have no doubt with your talent and your voice, you'll be able to do it. That's her YouTube channel. Do me a favor, go out there and give her a sub. You can see some of her stuff. She's obviously Umbrella. She's covered. That's with Rihanna. We talked about Hotel California, Mariah Carey. Yeah, that song, you should get some more views about that. And when it comes to about, I'd say November 30th, but maybe we got to hit the algorithms for that. Sarah McLachlan, we know her, and tried some other food, other stuff we won't get into, but you can watch it on her YouTube channel because that might be not the music related stuff. But it's her day. And I want to thank you very much for the opportunity for being here. And I'm looking forward to seeing whatever you do. And the best is yet to come. And a rising tide will always lift all boats. And I have no doubt that your voice will certainly do that. And congratulations on everything you're doing. And we look forward to seeing you here soon.
Thank you.
That's Kira Augustine. My name here is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally with all music and all wrestling matters. If you're here on Sportswire Radio, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the sub button for her YouTube channel. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all music and all wrestling matters.